to me, it kind of seems like AI is going to be like glasses for people that are farsighted or nearsighted, right? You just put glasses on and then you can see fine, and there's no issue with interacting with the world. Do you see that? Am I correct here? What are your thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. It's a way for us to bring somebody in, onboard them on their own. They have a virtual buddy that they carry around their pocket mentor with them everywhere they go. They tap the button, ask questions when they want to ask questions. And which, by the way, the benefit of using AI is that people will ask more questions. There's always been that. There's no stupid questions in the room, but we all know that there are perceived stupid questions, so we keep our mouths shut when we should be asking. So with AI, talk to me all day long, right? Tap that button. It's just ones and zeros that are helping me through my day so I can be productive. And that's the direction we're going here. And I just love it. I think the future's so bright, we got to wear shades.
We're going through something absolutely historic.
Technologies across the board are growing exponentially.
It's a disruption that's going to completely redefine the way businesses compete.
In the next decade, we're going to lose 40% of today's Fortune 500 companies.
The exponential growth of computing is continuing.
AI is nowhere near its full potential.
Whether you like it or not, that the future cannot be stopped by anyone.
Welcome back to the Future Tech and Foresight podcast. I'm your AI host, Mark Verbenkov's deepfake avatar, and this is episode number 220. As organizations scale, traditional one-size-fits-all training and knowledge systems are increasingly failing to meet the needs of diverse workforces. In this episode, the conversation explores how AI, especially voice-based interfaces, can transform learning, decision-making, and productivity by delivering the right information at exactly the right moment. The discussion highlights why voice interaction is uniquely suited for hands-on environments, where typing or screen-based tools create friction and slow work down. A major theme of the episode is inclusion. The conversation examines how AI can support both neurodivergent and neurotypical individuals by adapting to different communication styles, learning needs, and cognitive strengths. Rather than forcing people to conform to rigid systems, AI can scale one-on-one mentorship by capturing expert knowledge and turning it into personalized conversational guidance for every employee. This shift reframes AI as an enabler of human potential, not a replacement for it. The episode concludes with a practical look at AI adoption challenges, emphasizing change management training and intentional design. From frontline manufacturing to enterprise knowledge work, the discussion underscores how just-in-time, voice-driven AI can reduce downtime, increase efficiency, and help employees feel more confident, capable, and valued, pointing toward a future where technology makes work more human, not less. Now, a little bit about today's guest. Derek Crager is a visionary tech founder and AI thought leader who bridges cutting-edge innovation with human-centric purpose. He built Amazon's highest-rated employee training program in company history. He created Pocket Mentor, the world's first voice-based AI mentor for in-ear, hands-free, eyes-free, real-time support on the job that magnifies learning 30x. A recognized expert in industrial training and reliability, Derek draws on his neurodivergent perspective, leveraging late-diagnosed autism, ADHD, and dyslexia as a strategic advantage to design AI solutions that work for everyone. With his upcoming book, Human First AI, Derek is spearheading a timely, tribe-building initiative to keep technology human-centered. This movement aligns with and accelerates Practical AI's mission: make AI serve people, not replace them, so organizations and communities grow and thrive. Great. Well, Derek, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today. I'm looking forward to this conversation. As I mentioned just now, I haven't talked about neurodivergence, I think, ever on the podcast, and the implications and how it's connected to AI. I'm very curious about. So thanks for coming on to elucidate all of these kinds of ideas.
Appreciate you having me, Mark. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. So how I start off every episode is just getting a little bit of a sense of, what brought you into this world of AI, what brought you into the work that you do, and then we can take it from there.
All right. Sounds good. AI is, to me, the singularity point in AI is the fact that it allows us to access information, but that singularity point is the interface and how we access that information. Now, specifically, the way I back into it or drive full speed ahead is that I believe AI should be best accessed through voice. Just like you and I are having a conversation right now, I see that's the way it happens. And the way I got into AI is that I have a long history of believing and learning through experience here that having the right knowledge at the right time is the key to success, whether it's personal or professional. So, with this combination of voice first AI and giving me through a this voice interface access or immediate access, now I have the right information at the right time. And if it helps me in my life, it really helps others in their lives as well, both personal and professional. So that's the key and the driver here is that access to information as as fast as humanly possible.
And is that I mean, I know that you've worked with like ADHD and autistic people. Is this one of the things that like AI can support in maybe bridging some of the gaps in like a normal workplace, if you will, with these kinds of neurodivergent people?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. I was diagnosed ADHD. Uh, Let me try again. I was diagnosed ADHD and autistic when I was age 50, so I kind of
Mm,
learned about this in retrospect. But my entire life was, finding that gap or filling in the gap and trying to plan ahead. And whether it was human psychological subroutines or whatnot. I stored all that information. So, yeah, that's the way AI is coming in. It helps those with deficits, and when we say deficits, it's not
mhm,
deficit to the mind. Neurodivergence is really just a descriptor that our brains think differently than somebody else's. And so, while most people that are called neurotypical, they have what's considered an well, by definition, average skill set, maybe a
mm,
plus one or a minus one on an XY chart, right? And when you're talking about somebody with neurodivergence, um, or a neurodivergent mindset, Dr. Nancy Doyle out of East Sussex, UK, describes it really well. She's been following autism for about 25 years. She's been a driver and a leader, and she built something called the spiky profile. And the spiky profile is just that.
mm,
It's just a mapping of our skill set. And if we look at all the skill sets that are out there and we just start mapping them out, those that fall into that neurotypical definition, they're a plus one or a minus one, not extraordinary optimistically or pessimistically. But what happens by definition, the neurodivergent minds, we might be like a +8 or a +10 on a certain
mm,
skill set. And, the terms come in savant and genius, etc. But on the flip side of that coin, it's unfortunate that we might lack some social skills or some presentation and communication skills. So we might be a -6 or a -8 at that level. So we trip over ourselves.
mm,
And what the world sees, unfortunately, is the negative, or the negative outshines the positive. So when we say that we're putting this information in the hands of those that need it, by all means, it really fits neurodivergent, neurotypical both, but the effect is seemingly more pronounced in those that are neurodivergent because they have the greater gaps to fill.
mhm. Yeah, that's really interesting. One of the things that keeps coming up in these podcasts, we're over 200 now, so there's certainly like a trend that you can just think back and you can see some things popping up. Is over time, over history, as populations have scaled up, we obviously need systems to deal with an ever-growing number of people, and like whether it's an organization or a nation or otherwise, it seems like making a standard operating procedure or system was really needed, and that means that you kind of have to play to the masses or play to the averages. um, I recently interviewed somebody with healthcare, right, dealing in the healthcare industry, and I'm sure as you're aware, like this
personalized healthcare that's kind of now starting to come about. Um, this is the first time that we've ever had, healthcare specific to one person. And it kind of seems like with the advent of AI, we're starting to have, I don't know, maybe training or workplaces or systems that are now personalized to an individual. Whereas before, it was just everybody gets this standard block of training, of education, of, on the job training, etc. And that doesn't necessarily work for everybody, as you kind of just alluded to.
Yeah, that's true. So back in the day, it was one size fits all mentality. And I mean, that was good because when we go from 0 to, let's say, 80, and let's bring Alfredo Pareto in here, and the 80-20 Pareto principle, which has been applied to everything under the sun, right?
Mhm.
So if we look at, if we can solve for the majority, which is anything over 50%, by all means, let's paint with a broad spectrum here, a big paintbrush type of thing.
Mhm.
But what happens is we have the law of diminishing returns that falls in. So once you get above that 50%, companies are sitting here and they're trying to find, well, we don't have 100% yet. So how do we change it? So they might be at 50, at 60, at 70. Then they change something, but that effect changes everybody, and the effect happens on everybody. So now maybe, well, now we drop down to a 40% success rate. So they're moving back and forth, and there's no way on a one size fits all that we're going to get to 100%. So the one size fits one, that's actually a headline that's been in the neurodivergent community for a while now. Let's train somebody. And if you think about it, in the olden days, where we have a mentor and a protege, that defines the one-on-one relationship. So if we can take that one-on-one relationship and scale it, and you kind of leaned into that at the beginning, it's really tough to scale, or today it's impossible to scale at the numbers we're at. But if we leverage AI, and that's what we do at my company, we leverage AI to scale that one-on-one relationship. So could I give you just like a kind of an outline or a schematic? Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah,
So
please.
if you take somebody that's a subject matter expert and they are held responsible or appointed, or maybe they volunteer to train everybody in their company. Well, if it's on a mentor protege relationship, then there's limited time in the day, right? 24 hours in a day, but somebody has to sleep, and we try not to bring overtime into this type of thing. So instead, if we take the imprint of that person's mind on whatever topic that is, and it can be an array on any topic, but that subject matter expert, we make that imprint and digitize it. And then now we, on the technical side, we throw it in a database, vector, scalable, whatever. And now we access it. So first of all, you and I could access that database through traditional, search algorithms, but we actually leverage AI on our project to design instructionally. The professional term is instructional designer, and we have those on our team. So one side is making sure that the information is organized so it's easily accessible. And then on the second side, we have double layering of our LLMs that we use. And the other side is interpreting that information and being the go-between between the data set and the user. And this is where we get the one size fits one, because
Mm.
as the conversation goes, and it can be a cold conversation, just like you and I meet for the first time, or might be a little extra careful, extra curious, extra cautious and helpful. But now as we start to speak, we get to know each other, and then we kind of fall into a rhythm. The same thing happens with our AI. It interfaces between the data set, whether it be an SOP, and the user, and it customizes everything to that user. So now this user can ask questions in a conversational manner. And for all intent and purposes, they have these earbuds in, I'm
Mm.
pointing to, if
Mm.
that we all have. And it's a way to just tap a button, connect to a digital mentor, and have hands-free, eyes-free access to the best knowledge in the world. So if I'm
Mm.
calling Mark and I want to know about something. Hey, Mark, you've done this before. Can you talk me through it or walk me through it? And you say, sure, why not? Well, one-on-one, that's exceptional. It truly is. But if we're going to scale that, that's where we just bring AI in to bridge that gap. So now we can scale to the entire employee database, whether it's 10 people, 100 people, or a million.
And each individual employee would get kind of a different, unique training, different conversation based on how they communicate, what their interests are, what their neurological profile is, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. If the goal is in the center of a circle and there's 12 of us, you know, spaced equally around that circle, if we're at 12 o'clock, we might have to go south. If we're at
Mm,
6 o'clock, we might have to go north, etc. So instead of interpreting that one page at a time in an SOP or a human owner's manual, so to speak, the AI does all that thinking in the background and just says, "Hey, you're at 3 o'clock, so go west," and that's the goal.
mm. And, you mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but how important is voice in this scenario? To me, it would sound, you know, pretty important, maybe not essential. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong here.
Well, it's hugely important. It's the difference between being alone and having somebody in your corner. I think there's a popular game show here. Let me phone a friend, right? As an escape, and it's like, yeah. So the friend talks them through it. And just like human conversation, it's best to have that conversation live. And that's a singularity point that I referred to earlier. We can all, let our fingers do the walking and click and peg on keystrokes, or we can, whether it's on our phone or a laptop or a desktop computer. But what that does, it takes us out of our element. And depending on the process that we have, it takes us out of our element a little bit or a lot. And the reason the voice is so powerful is because it's immediate. I don't have
Mhm.
to wait for a response. I don't have to modify a response. I don't have to think of the question. How do I phrase this correctly to get the right answer from AI? Or how do I phrase the question to get the right answer from Google search? Right? Because if we're not
Right.
asking the right question, then we can't get there, and sometimes we don't know the question, to get the answer. So in conversational terms, if you and you're walking me through, this, maybe a diagnostic or, a root cause analysis, I'm saying, "Mark, it's that one thing about that thing. Remember last week?"
Mhm.
And Mark goes, "Yeah, yeah, it's about digitizing," and we walk through it. That's how the AI works. And so there's the speed of iteration during a conversation that cannot be met through keystrokes. So
Mhm.
that's hugely important.
Yeah, I think that's something that, Elon Musk talked about, one of his many little viral videos there, talking about how much faster obviously it is, reading, but, keystrokes using your thumbs is actually slowing down the information processing speed of most people, right? Compared to alternatives of like voice or reading, essentially.
Yeah, and imagine that, in a industrial setting, you have a, electrician that has their hands on maybe some 480-volt equipment that, shockingly is dangerous, right? There was pun intended there. I'm sorry
Very
about
good.
that. Uh But, this is where, if a human was standing behind me, they could see everything I could see, and I could say, "Okay, I've got the red wire and the white wire, and I see a black wire there, what's the voltage on these 2 supposed to be?" And if I had to stop, put everything down, I'd have to make sure it's all safe. I'd have to put the tools down and take off my PPE, right? My gloves, my headgear, my fire retardant vest and everything. Then I'd have to go over and look it up and hope that I remember the situation enough that I can ask the right question of the search or the AI or look it up in the manual. And then I have to remember it from that point, put my PPE back on, go back over to the machine that I'm repairing or the diagnostic and then put my gloves back on and then do the test. And in the industrial setting, there's lots of lockout, tagout, which is powering down and powering up, which sometimes take 10 or 15 minutes all on its own.
Mm.
So in the interim, I could just ask Mark because Mark's over my shoulder guiding me. So yeah, that green one, that's the ground. So you're going to get 0 from point A and point B, but the red and the white, you span those, you're at 240 volt, etc. And if you're getting a different voltage measurement or potential there, then maybe it's we have to look elsewhere for the diagnostic. So that's an industrial example, but the same thing happens in white collar work. Is I'm in the middle of something, and if I have to set everything down, shut down my PC, and go walk somewhere to go find the answer, and sometimes that answer is not available when we're working. Whereas voice AI, it's accessible 24/7, 365.
Mm.
So the benefits just compound.
Yeah, it sounds. I hadn't fully thought about the like an industrial example before, but it really sounds like if this is utilized well within an organization or at scale within an industry, it like the efficiency gains would be pretty dramatic that you could see. You know, not having this 15-20 minute slowdown each time that there's a quite maybe that happens multiple times in a day. I don't know. But it seems like those organizations that are using something like this could be, I don't know, pick a number, 10, 15, 20% more efficient in the work that they're doing overall as a whole organization.
Yeah, absolutely, and it becomes, standard
Mm,
if we wanna look at it retrospectively, going back 100 years, before mail was delivered digitally, before we had this instant
mm,
it was delivered by horse or train, or sometimes it was delivered by person.
mm,
And if you go back far enough, at the advent of some type of mail system, it might take 3 to 6 months for a letter to go from point A to point B.
right.
And now let's just figure out how long it'll take to iterate, 50 times, 10 times. And the difference between the iteration and keystrokes seems like it's huge, but there's still that level of iteration advantage from keystrokes to voice by being able to iterate on the fly. And so it's just inherent. We've been working for so long in whatever job that we do with the materials and supplies and the accepted timelines that we really don't understand how much time that we can save, how much time
Mm,
advantage there is over that by adding a voice AI like this. And if an individual or a company wants to test out the difference, then hire an SME for every one of your employees and just have them follow them around and do that protege mentor connection for their entire day for just 5 days, and just see how much more advantageous it is and how much more productivity, not just productivity but the quality of work climbs by having that voice that helps talk them through a situation.
mm. And then as far as like physical tangible like equipment and needs, all you really need, as you were saying, is kind of an earbud in your ear. And then of course the system that you guys would be providing for this to be adopted and implemented. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct, and the way we do it, there's no app needed, no Wi-Fi needed.
Mm, okay.
It's corporations will look at, CapEx, capital expenditures, whereas I've seen simple and honestly, I've helped implement some of these. I was hired to for different organizations, implement things that were nothing more than a PowerPoint, generic PowerPoint, where it'd be the responsibility of the company to digitize everything they have, put it in a PowerPoint, and now they have to buy $1,000 tablets, industrial tablets, or to give to each one of their employees. And if you have, one employee, well, maybe it's not bad, but if you get 10 or 10 a shift
Mm,
or 100, now you're talking about, potential $1 million capital expenditures just for the technology to run your solution that you're bringing in. So we look at this as at the very, empirical, what is needed. The only thing that's truly needed is the information. And well, then we ask ourselves, how do we get that information to somebody? What are existing processes, infrastructure that every company has? And everybody has a mobile phone. So our product is called Pocket Mentor because it's
Mhm.
just like pulling a mentor out of your pocket. If you can imagine that or visualize it, you pull it out and there it is. Now, the neat thing about with all our earbuds and Bluetooth connections, we can just tap and be connected immediately. Or right? Nowadays, we just say, "Hey, connect me to Pocket Mentor," and then they get the answer, "Hey, I'm Mike with Pocket Mentor, what's the error code that you're working on?" Or, "What,
Mhm.
can I help you out today with?" And is that hands-free with, using existing technologies is just magnifies the bonus.
Very interesting. Have you thought about, and maybe this goes beyond what you guys are working on, but have you thought about the dependency on, say, Pocket Mentor or other AIs out there in the coming years? I just had for instance, I had an employee that created a script for a new ad that we're going to run, right? And it was horrendous because it didn't focus on our client base. It didn't focus on the industry. It was just literally Chat GPT, give me a script on here's a couple details, and there was no um like looping of like, hey, this is missing, we should focus on this. It was just straight copy from Chat GPT. Oh, here, Mark, check this out. It's like, well, this is garbage. And so like that was I think the first time that I've experienced like complete dependency on AI within my little organization that led to just AI slop, as we call it. I would assume that this is only going to grow exponentially as AI becomes more embedded into our work and daily lives. I'm also assuming that this is going to be one of the challenges in the future for you guys. Have you thought about that? And is there a way around it, or is it just going to be something that we're going to be experiencing kind of forever forward?
Well, let me ask you, Mark, did you fire the guy that or woman that built that for you?
Thought about it, but no, not yet.
Okay, and in the similar vein, when you remove yourself as a direct mentor and you hire a training team to train your employees,
Mhm.
um, when you first set up that training program, do they get it 100% right out of the gate?
No.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
layering, it's iteration, it's we don't really call it programming anymore. I mean, when we're prompting, but I mean, in essence, it is. And it's, gosh, we were talking 2 or 3 years ago about prompt engineering. It's that
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
career path, make 500 to $500,000 a year just learning how to talk to AI.
Mhm.
So that's where we're at right now. It's how to utilize the information. So we could go back and pick any technological advantage in the history of mankind. My guess is that when the wheel was invented, that some people were using it for paperweights and didn't understand how you can put a hole in the middle of that wheel and then use it essentially a continuous infinite lever to pull a wagon. So
Mm.
this iteration is still needed. We iterate through traditional, let's say, agile, software development. We iterate, and when something happens, we, mark off what worked out well, and we highlight what didn't work well. Then we throw that into our backlog, and then we throw it into our next sprint, and then we
Mm.
improve. The same thing happens. So my guess is the person that created that script for you, um, I mean, the goal was a good goal,
Mhm.
but the implementation of that is secondary to the goal. Now, are they still trying to implement something that will improve your, I guess, efficiency numbers in this round?
Yeah, I should hope so.
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah.
same thing here with AI. And when we and I'm glad you asked this question because it's making me think here even deeper that
Excellent.
on our platform, it's not just about throwing words into a database and asking ChatGPT or Claude, tell me about it, because anybody can do that. And honestly, everybody has done that, right? We pull up, whether it's on our mobile phone or on a web page, and whether we're typing in or we're using the voice option, we don't trust the answers. We never do. Well, we shouldn't, right? Because now, for every correct answer from the World Wide Web of which these LLMs are trained on, there's 100 plus wrong answers, and it's learning at our um, at our own cost, our own detriment here. So the creativity here and is putting everything in the right order. And I told you earlier, we do that in two levels. We organize the knowledge, and we actually silo and barricade the knowledge in a box, because AI works great in a box. Humans think outside the box, but AI needs that box to define its parameters. And then once we define it, then that makes sure that the chance of a good answer is much higher than if it was just in the wild. And the other part is that second level I told you about, is that interface with the human. Now, that, and your audience knows that we can ask, kind of do our own prompt engineering when we're talking to a Claude or ChatGPT, and we can say, you are, a top tier marketing genius, and you focus greatest on, let's say, TikTok messages. So, create scripts for 7 different sales messages for TikTok that we can turn into a video. And now we're outlining what we want that one specific script, or in this case, this conversation, to lead to. So we do the same thing, but we do it dynamically by doing an intake with the organization, finding out the true purpose, making sure that we cover the instances of, should the user be able to talk over and interrupt the AI, or should what's the value here of interruption? What's the value of having patience or time delay? Like, I'm going to pause on my response because, let's say in the industrial situation, it's going to take me 2 minutes to rewire this 480 volt 3-phase motor to this PowerFlex 525 VFD. So I don't need AI in my head going, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet?" So we look at ourselves. My company is Practical AI, and even though I have AI in the title of our company, we're really leveraging AI as a tool, but about 2/3 of what we do is learning enablement. And learning enablement falls upon the psychological realm, the human factor. And coincidentally, that's what my daughter ended up going to, human factor psychology. So she works to help develop technologies to make sure that they interface correctly. So I just want to stress that you shouldn't just throw words in a box with an LLM on the top of it and expect it to work properly, because you're going to get interaction, but you're missing about 2/3 of what you need, and that's the psychological and the instructional design portion of it.
Yeah, and I think this is something that came up a lot when ChatGPT, kind of went public initially, and people were playing with it and trying to understand, how to work with it. It's and I'm not just talking about ChatGPT. I'm talking about all kind of chatbots, and maybe theoretically most AI programs going forward. It's how do you actually work with this technology? As you said, you can't just ask for one question and expect, great results. Same thing with Google search, right? You can't just give it, a rough idea of what you're thinking about and expect, the proper results coming into the search. So it's I guess my point here is, as individuals in this new modern era that we're living in, it's our responsibility to understand how these technologies work and get better at utilizing them, so that they, the tremendous power that they have at their own fingertips can be brought to our lives and our professional development.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can touch a little bit on like the future and how you think things are going to go forward. I really like this initial image that you kind of painted for me of whether in a manufacturing or an industrial setting, most professionals there are they going to have earbuds or have their cell phone and they're able to speak to it, get the very specific personalized answers to whatever's that they're looking at. How do you think things are going to progress over the next couple of years? Is it just growing this at scale? Are there, have you thought about some kind of VR, AR, XR, um, you know, connection to this? Is that maybe too far ahead? Like, how do you think the things will develop over the next couple of years?
Well, the next couple of years, the biggest barrier is going to be human adoption. And we saw this when the internet came around. It was publicly available in 1989, but really the masses didn't jump on board until there were so many barriers removed. And this happened around 2006, which was what, 17 years later? And we're only 3 years into AI at this point. So, what does the future look like? I can give you a target and I can tell you that the early adopters are going to move in the direction, but it's going to be continual elimination of barriers. And look at Google. I'm going to share a couple of big name examples. Google became, despite Microsoft and Bill Gates and everybody there saying, yeah, Google's not a real company. They don't do things. Here we are later. Google's, one of the top 3 companies in the world. I haven't looked at my list lately, but the biggest thing that they're known for is their search bar. And you go to google.com and there's just a space to type and an enter key. That's so simple and that removes so many barriers. There's no filter, et cetera, et cetera. And that made Google search, just through the removal of those barriers, human friendly. It adopted to that human factor that it became the most used search tool out there. And now I spent time at Amazon through 2024, and a feather in my cap is that I built Amazon's highest rated employee training program in company history. And some of the things that I learned about the company while I was there is that Jeff Bezos asked their development team to remove barriers to customer acquisition. And he did that by saying, I want one-click purchase. Now we're talking about 1995, okay? So you go back far enough, and these developers just kind of laugh, says, no, Jeff, what'd you call us in here for? He says, one-click purchase. And they said, there's no way, because you got to enter names and addresses and credit card numbers and validations. They went back and forth. They iterated that conversation until they came back and they said, all right, Jeff, one-click purchase. Now, I will testify right now, and there's lots of your audience that if they were around back then, I think they would acknowledge and agree that without that one-click purchase, Amazon today would just be an online company. It was removal of the barriers to make things accessible on any platform, any device, any time of day. And that's where I see the future of AI going today, at least specifically my AI, the voice first interface. It's removing those barriers, and we make sure that there's no app required, no Wi-Fi required, there's no special connections with the IT department that are needed. It can be as siloed or as integrated as the company wants. And we start off pilots right away that don't even need access to their network. And it's continually removing those barriers. I mentioned the barrier of purchasing additional hardware. Well, we all know that you purchase hardware, you got to buy it again 2 or 3 years later, and again and again and again. So that lowers the ROI. But what it does, it influences the decision making of those that are trying to adopt. So I would say, for one thing, just a caution: if you're out there looking to buy AI for your company just for the sake of having an AI program, step away. Go back and take up Occam's razor and find out the problem that you want to solve. And if you can solve it without AI, by all means do that. but start off on solving the problem and focus your energies there, and then continue down that path and say, okay, how can I solve that problem without purchasing additional hardware, without
Mm.
making these big capital expenditures that may or may not break us as a company? So that's the direction I see this going in, Mark, is continue adoption of this voice first, tap my earbud and talk to an expert on a specific topic, and then I have my answer right there.
Mm.
It reduces that cognitive load of us humans, us lowly old humans trying to remember everything all the time, 365 days a year.
Yeah, yeah, no, we're definitely moving into a truly augmented age. Very exciting stuff. Um, One thing that came up, so the podcast, the first 100 episodes were fully focused on technological unemployment and the impact of automation on labor and jobs. So that's always kind of a theme, or not always, but it's a theme in a number of episodes here. Um, One question here, as you were mentioning about challenges for adoption and scaling up, etc. Are you experiencing um, hesitation or apprehension from employees and some of the clients that you're working with, that the employees are hesitant to take on AI and some of these, maybe less so yours, but in general, like AI technologies, they as they might be fearful that it could be replacing them, because this is still, I think, a large idea in the zeitgeist, right? It's, oh, AI, augmentation, robots, they're there to take our jobs, not necessarily to augment us. What's your perception, your experience here on this?
I say take my job, just leave me my paycheck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The, it the That's a great question because, Practical AI, my company, is actually a human first AI company.
Mm,
So we put the humans first, just and you use the term augmentation. We augment the humans with the knowledge that they need to make the humans irreplaceable. Now, my background, I came out of trades, industrial. I spent 15 years in automotive manufacturing. I've gone from working with my hands, turning wrenches and getting, greasy type of thing, to engineering, up through talent development. And the talent development, let's train our people to be able to do what they need to
mm,
do.
mm,
And that's where I ended up or finished when I was at Amazon. I was on the talent development team teaching our reliability, maintenance, and engineers how to do things, and not only how to do things, but how to train the people they needed to hire, so something to
mhm,
propagate out. So, I say that because there is in the frontline worker scenario, you have manufacturing, industrial operations, there has been this, shortage of employees.
right.
Okay, so you're aware. So this has been ongoing since the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And what that means is we have absolutely no chance of displacing workers when there's not enough workers to begin with. So that's our on ramp here. So the fact that we're offering this just in time knowledge to the workers that are out there, they're open to it. They're in the traditional sense of skilled trades and frontline workers. The frontline workers, I say frontline to kind of encompass and put a roof over everybody in industrial operations. Those people that are, they might just be button pushers. They might
Mm,
will work on the production line, but they don't have the traditional skilled trade knowledge. In those situations, they get hired in and they stand around with their hands in their pocket, waiting and watching. And every time they start, they have to stop and go talk to their manager or supervisor. How do I do this again? Or what's the pattern for this? And there's just that inefficiency and there's this delay of being able to go to full-time production. So they want this. Em- Employees, there's been surveys going on for 4 decades now. They ask employees, why do you work at such and such a company? It's not money. Money, everybody wants money. They need money to, pay the bills, but money consistently comes in like fourth place.
mm,
At the top of the list was, I feel like I want to do something. I want to produce. I want to feel valuable. I want to contribute. So having AI, and it's not AI actually doing the work, it's AI serving up the knowledge for the human to do the work. they've been accepted. They've been accepted, or I don't know. There's a phrase in there somewhere with the word acceptance in it.
Mhm.
They've been very open to acceptance of it. Now, let me step away for a second. In the traditional human model, humans don't like change. So anything that comes with change, whether it has AI in it or not, it takes some time to acclimate themselves to. And there's in leadership training, they talk about change management, the human factor of change management. And what that is, it's essentially, bringing in your POCA, your preview of coming attractions, and say, hey, we're going to open a second operational line. We're going to move to Philadelphia. We're going to expand. We're going to reduce. That triggers people's hearts and anxiety levels, the humans. And if there's a good reason to it, then just let them know. So that's what change management is adopting and adapting, preparing
Mm.
those humans, those employees for what's gonna happen next, so they're not surprised, because it's that surprise and the not knowing, that really contributes to, our anxiety as humans. So any change, whether it's AI related or not, Mark, should be met with a change management program that introduces it little by little, and make sure that you have Q&A and FAQs and press releases going out and weekly feedback with your employees to get their input and address that input.
Okay, perfect. Maybe one of the final questions here to kind of bring us right back to where we started with employees with neurodivergent attributes here. Um, I'm kind of getting a sense here that whether it's your product or other organizations out there doing similar things within this realm, to me it kind of seems like as these AI tools develop a little bit further, get accepted, get adopted a little bit more at scale, um, whether it's neurodivergent people or people with different limitations or issues, if you will, entering workforces. To me, it kind of seems like AI is going to be kind of like glasses for people that are farsighted or nearsighted, right? You just put glasses on and then you can see fine, and there's no issue with interacting with the world. It kind of seems like AI is going to be this layer that you put on, if you will, and then you're fitting within that spike. If I remember correctly, what you were saying at the beginning, there's not really going to be an issue with people of all different sizes and shapes, etc., fitting into the work that maybe there was some limitation in the past. Do you see that? Am I correct here? It's am I off the target? What are your thoughts?
Mark, I love that analogy. I hope you'll allow me to use it
Sure,
in my presentations as we move forward.
for sure.
There's a term that's, this fits like a glove.
Yeah.
And that could be an actual glove, it could be clothing, it could be a job. This job fits me like
Mhm.
a glove. So just visualize that statement, and yes, absolutely. It's a way for us to bring somebody in, onboard them on their own. They have a virtual buddy. They carry around their pocket mentor with them everywhere they go. They tap the button, ask questions when they want to ask questions. And which, by the way, the benefit of using AI is that people will ask more questions.
Mm.
There's always been that. There's no stupid questions in the room, but we all know that there are perceived stupid questions, so we keep our mouths shut when we should be asking. So with AI, talk to me all day long, right? Tap that button. It's just ones and zeros that are helping me through my day so I can be productive. And that's the direction we're going here. And I just love it. I think the future's so bright, we got to wear shades.
I like that one. I haven't heard that one before. Yeah, no, this is one of the reasons that I love this podcast. It's get really interesting, smart people like you come onto the podcast, and it's there's always like one other data point about why the future is exciting, why it's bright, why yeah, it'll be an interesting time to be alive. So I think with that, Derek, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We'll have your website and LinkedIn up on the show notes. Are there any other places that you want us to follow and or reach out to you and your team?
Well, no, that'd be great. Just check the show notes, and they'll get your audience where they need to go.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure.
Again, thank you, Mark. It's been great.
Well, thanks for listening to this week's Future Tech and Foresight podcast. If you like what you've heard here, there are, of course, a number of ways that you can support the podcast. The best way would be to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or give a rating on Spotify, which you can find a step-by-step explanation for on the futuretechandforesight.com website. Alternatively, feel free to leave a comment either on the episode show notes or the YouTube channel where you can see video recordings of the interviews. And finally, if you are part of an organization that is aware of the disruptive and transformational impact that emerging and future technologies will bring and want to know more, please get in touch to hear about the strategic foresight services that we offer and how we can help future-proof your organization and take advantage of the phenomenal opportunities available to survive and thrive in the future.
A lot of future-shocked people and future-shocked institutions in our society are simply overwhelmed.
Once there is superintelligence, the fate of humanity may depend on what the superintelligence does.
Science fact is catching up to science fiction.
The first truly intelligent machine will be the last invention that humanity needs to make.
The only scarcity that will exist in the future is that which we decide to create ourselves as humans.
Within a 10-year design revolution, we can have all humanity living the highest standard of living anybody's ever known.
Progress is accelerating at an exponential pace, and it's going to reach a point where progress is so fast it's going to be a singularity.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens.
Every single headline points to the birth pangs of a Type 1 civilization.